All right, class, so today we're going to do our Unit 3A study guide. Remember, you have a graphic organizer that's going to help you with this. And I'm going to kind of mention it. I can't show it to you while I'm doing the video, but anyway, we'll kind of go through it verbally, but you can have it out while you're doing this. Remember, if you complete this and then show it to me before the test, 100% completed, I will give you 10 points on your test. If you only do half of it, I'm not giving you 5 points. It's either all or none, all right? So be aware of that. All right, so we're gonna factor out the greatest common factor. So we're gonna look for a number that goes into 2 and 8. The first thing I would recommend you do is see if the lower number goes into the higher number. And on this one, it does. And if that's the case, that is your GCF. So if you remember, that's what's going on the outside of your parentheses, okay? Next, we're going to look at letters. Well, this one has an X, but that one doesn't. So X is not a part of my GCF. So I'm going to divide both terms by what I wrote out here, which is 2. So 2 divided by 2 gives me 1, but I still have that X left, right? Those just kind of cancel. And then negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4, and that's it. You're finished. You might want to get into a habit of checking to see if these are the difference of squares. But it's not, because I can't take the square root of x. I can take the square root of x squared, but not x. I could take the square root of 4, but I have to be able to take the square root of both of them, and there has to be a minus between them. All right, number 2, check to see if this number, the smaller number, goes into the larger number. Does 3 go into 15? And it does. It goes into 15 evenly, so 3 is part of my GCF, so I know 3 is going to be part of my answer outside the parentheses. Next, I'm going to look at letters. Well, this one has an X and that one has a Y, so they don't have a common letter, so a letter is not a part of my GCF. So I know my answer is going to look like that. I'm going to divide both terms by the number I wrote out here. 15 divided by 3 is 5. On your calculator, real quick, I'm only going to show you this once. Create a fraction. So we're 15 on the top, 3 on the bottom. Even though I'm saying divide it by, don't use division, create a fraction, hit enter, it gives you 5. So that's how I know what number goes right there. And then that gives me x. 3 over 3 cancels, it's negative. And then I'm left with a y. That is my final answer, okay? All right, so next. Now we have trinomials, but again, we're going to check for a GCF first. There is not a number that goes into all 3 of these. You can almost ignore the when a equals 1 because of the way we learned it. It's not that big of a deal. Remember, we're going to take the a number. If there's nothing there, it's 1. Well, what is 1 times 15? So a times c. So 1 times negative 15 gives me negative 15. So remember, now you're going to list your factors. I've got 1 and 15, but I'm going to do it twice. 2 doesn't go into it, but 3 does. 3 and 15, or not 15, 3 and 5, sorry. And then 3 and 5. And then that's the last ones, okay? Remember, since it's negative, we're going to take a negative and we're going to zigzag it throughout our columns. Now we're looking for the combination, so I'm going to add these up and see which ones are going to give me negative 14. Well, negative 1 plus 15 gives me a positive 14, but I need it to be a negative 15. Positive 1 plus negative 15 gives me that negative 14. So I know these two are my numbers. So I'm going to do x plus 1. Then I'm going to do x minus 15. And now we're going to take whatever my a is, which is 1. I'm going to write this out, but you're going to see we don't really need to. And I'm going to divide by 1. Well, guys, if I divide by 1, it never changes anything. So my final answer is going to be what I had in those parentheses to begin with. Remember, go ahead and check, though. What's x times x? It's x squared. So that is my final answer. All right, let's see. We're probably not going to do all of these. Let's do, that one had a negative. So we'll do 5. No, we'll just keep going in order. We'll do number 4. So let's do a times c. This one's a little tougher because it has a bigger number right here. But A times C is 1 times positive 36. That gives me 36. List all your factors of 36. There's going to be a lot of them. I'm going to zip through these. Remember, list them twice. I won't give you one on the test that has this many. Okay, I think that's all of them. Oh, remember, list them all twice, okay? It's a positive 36, so we want our signs to be the same on both sides. One set's going to be positive, one set's going to be negative. Next set's positive, then negative. And if you get confused, go ahead and multiply it out. Positive 1 times positive 36 gives you 36. And then play around with your signs, you're going to find out that negative 1 times negative 36 also gives you positive 36. So we need to add these together and figure out which ones are going to give me negative 12. Well, I'm going to tell you all these up here would not work. I'm not going to make you go through all of them. But that one will work. That gives me an x minus 6 and an x minus 6. So now we're going to divide by 1 because there's a 1 right here, right? There's really a 1 right there and there was 1 right there. But like we've learned on the last one, if I divide by 1, it doesn't change anything. So that's your answer, kind of. On a test, I would really like you, if I've got the same thing multiplied by itself, it's really that squared. I would accept this. But realize on the EOC, this answer would be written like this because it's something times itself, and that's really a squared. So either one of those would work. On the test, I'll take this one. On the EOC, you'll have to know that that's the right answer. All right? Next, we're going to factor out the difference of squares. Now, guys, don't let this trick you. We're always going to start with, does it have a GCF? And this one does. It has a GCF of 3. 3 goes into 75. Again, if you didn't know that, you're going to take that number and put it at the bottom of this one. 75 divided by 3 is 25. It goes into it evenly. So 3 is my GCF. So I'm going to divide these both by 3 for right now. That's going to leave me n squared minus 25. Now, inside the parentheses, do I have the difference of squares? Can I take the square root of the first one? And I can. Can I take the square root of the second one? I can. And is there a minus between it? Remember your perfect squares. I'll write them over here. Let's see. Oh, that's not right. It's 81, so that's 8 times 8. So remember 81, and that's all we'll need for these two. But anyway, here are your perfect squares over here. So we're going to leave the 3 out front. Remember, now we need 2 sets of parentheses. N squared, so the square root of n squared is n, so that's what's going in the front of my parentheses, or in the beginning of it. And then the square root of 25 is 5. So remember, your answers are going to look like this. The only difference is I'm going to put a plus between one of them and a minus between the other, and I am finished. This one's actually a little bit easier because it doesn't have a GCF, so I'm just ready to see if it's a perfect square, difference of squares, and it is. I can take the square root of h, I can take the square root of 81, and there's a minus between them. If there was a plus here, this would not work, this little trick we're about to do. So we're going to do 2 sets of parentheses. The square root of h is h. I'm going to have a plus in one of them and a minus in the other. And then what's the square root of 81? Real quick, I'll show you on your calculator. You're going to hit second. This x squared has the square root right there. 81 gives me 9. So it's going to be plus 9 minus 9. That's your answer. All right, so now we're going to factor out trinomials when a is greater than 1. Again, the way we learned it, it doesn't really matter. We're probably not going to do number 9. We'll do number 8. So let's do a times c. So we're going to take 2 times negative 3, and that gives me negative 6. Now list the factors of 6. It's a minus, so I'm gonna zigzag my minus throughout. Now we're gonna add these together, see which one gives me -5. Well, -1 plus 6 gives me +5, but I need it to be -5. 1 plus -6 gives me -5. So I know these are my numbers I'm gonna use. That gives me x plus 1, x minus 6. We're gonna take our a, divide both factors by it. 1/2 does not simplify, so my 2 is gonna go bottoms up. -6/2 gives me -3 with nothing left, so that is my answer. So now I'm finished. Again, you can always check 2x times x. It doesn't guarantee it, just a little quick check. 2x times x gives me 2x squared. So that's probably right, and in this case it is. All right, a couple of little short or type problems. Let's see here. Which of the following correctly factors out the greatest common factor of 5x to the third plus 20x? Let's see if 5 goes into 20, and it does, and they both have x's. So we know 5x is part of my GCF. Well, now look, A and B don't have 5x out here. They only have 5. So we know that one's not right, and we know that one's not right. So now we need to do 5x to the third divided by 5x. Well, my 5's cancel. And remember, when we're dividing variables, when we're dividing letters, we're basically subtracting the exponents. So 3 minus 1 gives me 2, so I need an x squared. Well, this one has an x squared, and this one, oh, I crossed out the wrong one. I shouldn't have crossed this one out yet, but now I can because I know my answer has to be an x squared. So that has to be my answer. But let's finish it. So that's going to give me x squared plus 20 divided by 5 is 4. My x's cancel. So that's what I should have had in my parentheses. And that's what I have outside. All right, what is the correct factorization of x squared minus 2x minus 24? You know, now that I'm looking at this, we're done. This is all stuff we've done on the front. They're just trying to trick you with some word problems, and I'll look at the test and we'll figure it out. We'll make the test match up with our study guide. So that's good. That'll get you through this first test.